The planet Nurex was peaceful once. Its skies were calm, its people kind. They believed in peace, in science, in the promise of the stars. But peace can be a lie in a galaxy full of hungry empires. The Karn Dominion came without warning. No declaration of war, no demands, just fire. Giant ships dropped from the sky, black and burning, raining death on cities that had no weapons. The people of Nurex ran, screamed, and begged the stars for help. But the stars stayed silent. The Nurexi government acted fast, sending distress calls to every ally, every neutral world, every old treaty partner. They begged for assistance. They offered everything: resources, land, even surrender, if someone would only stop the Karn. But one by one, the replies came in. Regretfully unable to assist. Our fleets are committed elsewhere. We cannot interfere. Some didn't answer at all. Days turned to weeks. Cities became ash. The Karn took what they wanted: technology, slaves, fuel, and burned the rest. Underground bunkers filled with terrified civilians. Satellites were destroyed. Power grids collapsed. All hope was dying. The last communication tower on Nurex still stood, hidden deep in the mountains. Inside it, one young technician named Vel tried one final thing. He redirected the signal toward the old zones, toward the dead zones, toward the places the galaxy no longer cared about. One of those places was Earth. Earth hadn't been part of the Galactic Council for over 150 years. After a war no one wanted to remember, the humans were left behind. Most believe they have fallen into chaos or vanished completely. Their space was marked as red on maps. Do not enter. But the signal went there anyway. A wide-band, ancient distress code, translated into over 90 languages, including one long unused, Terran Standard English. In deep space, far from any trade lane, an old science ship drifted silently through an asteroid belt. It was human. Black hull, no flags. Inside, a crew of 20 worked in silence. They were not soldiers. They were not diplomats. They were called pathfinders, scouts for something unknown. When the signal reached their sensors, the crew didn't panic. They listened. The voice was broken, full of static. "This is Nurex Command. If anyone can hear us, we are dying. They have taken our cities, our children. We ask for mercy. We ask for help. Please, someone." No one spoke on the ship for a long moment. Then the captain, a quiet woman named Rena Hale, simply nodded. She didn't ask for orders. She gave them. "Set course," she said. "We're going to Nurex." No applause followed. No dramatic music. Just the sound of engines lighting up. Just quiet focus. These were humans. And humans remembered what it felt like to be abandoned. 3 days later, Nurex's orbit shimmered. The Karn patrols noticed first. Strange readings. Unmarked ships, silent, black, heavier than expected. They thought it was a mistake, until one of the ships fired. A Karn battleship disappeared in a blink. Not exploded, erased. The Nurexi didn't see it at first. They were still underground, hiding in the dark, breathing recycled air, hoping for death to be quick. But then came the shaking, not from bombs, but from the skies above. Something had changed. Vel, still alive, still watching the tower's sensors, saw the impossible. "There's something here," he said. "Ships, but not Karn, not Council. I don't recognize the design." Then he saw the symbol. Faded, scratched, barely visible, but real. A simple star with 2 broken wings. Earth. Vel couldn't believe it. That's a Terran mark. That's impossible. They're gone. They're not supposed to exist anymore. But they did, and they had come. No welcome message came from the human fleet. No announcements, no flags, just action. Karn ships exploded without warning. Human ground teams landed, fast and cold, setting up strange towers and machines the Nurexi didn't understand. Someone finally came to help. But what the humans did next, no one could have predicted. They hadn't come to follow rules. They hadn't come to save face. They hadn't come as part of any council. They came to win. And for the first time in weeks, Vel smiled, not because he understood what was happening, but because for the first time, someone answered the call. And they weren't here to talk. For 3 days, the skies above Nurex were quiet. The Karn Dominion had pulled back some of their fleet, confused by the sudden loss of one of their biggest battleships. They believed it was a malfunction or some kind of weapon misfire. That mistake would cost them. On the 4th day, the sky opened. They arrived without sound. No bright lights, no speeches, just shadows. Long, dark warships that blocked the stars. They looked nothing like the smooth, polished ships of the Galactic Council. These were old, heavy, covered in armor that looked like it had survived 1,000 battles. They floated slowly, like giant beasts waiting to strike. Each one carried strange markings, and none of them matched modern records. From his hidden bunker, Vel watched the feed from the last working satellite. He saw them coming in, one by one, forming a line above the planet like a wall. He zoomed in. These were human ships, but not the kind he had studied in the history files. These were something else. These ships shouldn't exist, Vel whispered. Deep inside the Karn fleet, panic spread. One commander tried to send a probe to scan the Terran ships. The probe vanished mid-flight, cut apart by a single beam of red light. No warning, no message, just precision. Then the humans began to move. One of the black ships turned slowly. Its weapon ports opened, rows and rows of cannons and energy turrets. A blue light gathered at the front. The Karn ships rushed to form a defense, but it was too late. A blast of raw energy tore through 3 enemy cruisers at once. The ground shook. Underground, the Nurexi survivors thought it was another bombing. Vel shouted into the comms, "No, it's not the Karn. It's them. The Terrans are fighting back." Across the planet, survivors stared at the sky through cracks in the bunkers. Some cried. Some prayed. Others simply watched as the impossible unfolded above them. The humans did not speak to the Karn. They did not offer terms. They hunted. In space, the Karn ships tried to retreat, but the Black Fleet followed. They moved like wolves, fast and coordinated. Some human ships cloaked mid-battle, vanishing before reappearing behind the enemy. Missiles exploded in silence. Beams sliced through metal like paper. One Karn ship tried to crash into a Terran destroyer. It was reduced to dust before it came close. Then, something stranger happened. The humans began landing. Their dropships were small, quiet, and fast. They avoided open ground and went straight to key locations. Communication bunkers, power stations, old ruins. One group landed near an old Nurexi lab that had been shut for years. They weren't soldiers with flags. They didn't wear shiny armor or carry banners. Their suits were black and gray. Their helmets covered their faces. They said nothing. They moved with purpose. In the Nurexi mountain base, Vel tracked one of the human landing teams. "They're not attacking us," he said. "They're setting something up." "Like what?" someone asked. Vel shook his head. "I don't know." A few brave Nurexi scouts followed a group from a distance. What they saw made no sense. The humans were building machines. Big machines, inside caves and under the ruins. Machines that glowed faintly and whispered in strange languages. The humans placed energy cores, strange crystal spikes, and plates that shimmered with invisible heat. They were preparing something. But what? Meanwhile, a few Nurexi leaders tried to contact the humans. They sent messages in every known language, hoping for a reply. Nothing came. The Terrans stayed silent. Back in orbit, the remaining Karn ships tried one last push. They charged toward the Terran flagship, hoping to destroy it with one giant blow. It was a trap. The flagship split into two pieces mid-flight. One half moved left, the other right. A hidden cannon between them fired a concentrated pulse directly at the charging fleet. The screen on Vel's console went white for a moment. When the light faded, the Karn ships were gone. Not destroyed. Gone. He stared at the data. That wasn't an explosion, he whispered. That was something else. Like they were pulled out of space. Panic spread through the Karn. Their last ships jumped away, fleeing to deep space. They didn't send any warning to their leaders. They just ran. The Terrans didn't follow. They simply held position over Nurex, silent and watching. One Nurexi general asked the question everyone was thinking. Why are they here? Why us? No one had an answer. But they all felt it. These humans weren't here for glory. They weren't here for politics. They weren't even here for revenge. They were here for something else. And whatever it was, had just begun. The humans had saved the planet, but they did not act like heroes. Days passed since the Karn fleet ran away. Nurex was quiet now. No more bombs, no more fires. Survivors stepped out of bunkers for the first time in weeks. The skies were still filled with black Terran warships, watching silently. No messages came from them. No celebration, no contact. Just silence. On the ground, the humans worked like machines. In every major zone, they had landed teams. These teams moved fast, always in groups of 4 or 6. They avoided civilians. They ignored questions. They only worked. Some repaired broken towers. Others dug into the earth with strange drills that hummed like they were alive. Every group carried small black devices that pulsed with soft blue light. The Nurexi people were confused and afraid. Vel, still working from the mountain base, tracked one of the Terran teams through old cameras. They moved through a ruined city like ghosts. One paused in front of a destroyed statue. It looked at it for a long time. Then it turned and walked away. No words, no reaction. These are not peacekeepers, Vel said to his friend Merrill, who had joined him at the console. They're doing something. I think they're building. Merrill frowned. Building what? Vel didn't answer. He didn't know. One day, a group of children approached a Terran patrol near the edge of the forest. They were scared but curious. One small girl offered a piece of fruit to a soldier. The human looked down at her. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the soldier knelt, took the fruit, and placed a small metal badge in the girl's hand. He walked away without a word. The badge had no writing, only a symbol, a star, cracked in the middle with a ring around it. News of this spread quickly. Some Nurexi believed it was a gift. Others said it was a warning. Then the real fear began. One Terran team entered an old power facility in the southern wastelands, an area destroyed years ago, even before the war. The Nurexi thought it was dead land. But the humans moved like they knew exactly where to go. Vel hacked into a drone nearby and got a view of what they were doing. Inside the facility, the humans opened sealed doors no one else could enter. They carried large cylinders, full of glowing blue liquid. They installed strange panels into the walls and placed long, sharp rods deep into the ground. When they finished, they activated something. The entire building lit up, then disappeared from scanners. Gone? Merrill asked. No, Vel said. Still there, but hidden, cloaked. I can't see it, but the data says it's still online. What are they doing? Vel didn't know, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just a rescue mission. This was preparation. That night, a strange pulse echoed through the planet's magnetic field. It made the sky ripple like water. Some people got headaches. Others saw flickers of light in the corners of their vision. Vel checked the readings. It's them again. They activated another one of their machines. What does it do? I don't know. In orbit, the black ships adjusted their positions. They formed a perfect circle around Nurex, pointing outward, like a shield, not a trap. Then something impossible happened. A small Karn scout ship returned to spy on the planet. It didn't come in fast, just slow and quiet, trying to stay hidden. But the moment it passed through the edge of the orbit, every Terran ship turned to face it, at once. Before the Karn ship could move, it froze in space, not destroyed, just stopped. Like time itself had been paused around it. The ship floated there, silent and dark. The Nurexi Council called an emergency meeting. We asked for help. One elder said, "We didn't ask for this. But we would all be dead if they hadn't come." Another replied, "Yes, but what are they doing now? What did we invite?" No one had answers. That same night, a Nurexi child, Lara, the one who gave fruit to the soldier, climbed a hill near the human camp. She watched quietly as they built a tall black tower with glowing lines. A human saw her, but did nothing. She whispered, "Are you going to save us or change us?" The soldier turned, looked at her, and simply said, "Yes." It was the first word anyone had heard from them. Back at the mountain base, Vel received a new transmission. It wasn't from the humans. It was from another planet in the system, one already conquered by the Karn. A weak voice, begging for help. Vel turned to Meryl. "Should we send it to the humans?" Meryl hesitated. "They'll go. But what will they do?" Vel didn't know. All he knew was this. The humans weren't just defending Nurex. They were preparing for something much bigger. And whatever it was, had already started. The world of Nurex was still healing. Cities were ruins. Families had lost everything. But life was returning. People walked in the sunlight again. Children played in the dust. The fires were gone, but fear still remained. Not fear of the Karn, fear of the humans. Their black ships still floated in the sky, silent and cold. Their soldiers still walked the ground, building strange towers and devices. They said nothing. They gave no orders, but everyone could feel it. Something was coming, and the humans already knew. Vel stayed at the mountain base, watching the Terran fleet through his screens. He tracked their movements. He recorded everything. His table was covered with notes, maps, and theories. But there was one thing he could not understand. Why hadn't they left? "They came to save us," Meryl said one night. "So why are they still here? What do they want?" Vel stared at the blinking lights on his monitor. "I think they want to protect us, but not just from the Karn, from something worse." Before Meryl could ask what he meant, a loud alarm echoed through the base. Incoming transmission. Vel rushed to the controls. The signal wasn't from orbit. It wasn't from the planet. It was from deep space, somewhere beyond even the old trade routes. The signal was broken, full of static, but one word came through clearly. Earth. Vel's heart stopped. "It's from Earth." He boosted the signal, and slowly a voice began to form. "This is Static, Terran Command. Operation Warden is active. Phase 2 has begun. Non-Terran observers, prepare for planetary lockdown. Repeat, lockdown begins in 72 hours. Then the signal cut. Silence. Meryl leaned in. "Did they say lockdown?" Vel nodded. "They're planning something. Something big." All across Nurex, the Terran soldiers moved faster. The towers they built started glowing brighter, pulsing like heartbeats. More machines were activated, machines that made the ground hum and the air feel heavy. One group of humans was seen digging something massive into the ground. It looked like a gate or a weapon. The Nurexi government sent drones to ask questions. The humans ignored them. On the second night after the message, another event shook the world. A ship dropped out of hyperspace above Nurex. It was not Karn. It was not Terran. It was from the Council. A sleek silver cruiser, broadcasting peace signals. It asked for permission to land. The humans didn't answer. So the cruiser landed anyway, far from the Terran zones. It sent down a diplomatic team in bright robes, smiling and calm. They never made it to the capital. Before they could take one step outside their landing zone, a Terran team appeared. No weapons raised, no shouting, just one human standing in the path. The diplomats stopped. A council speaker, nervous but polite, stepped forward. "We come in peace. We wish to thank you for protecting Nurex." The Terran soldier didn't reply. "We also wish to know when you plan to return to your space. The council is ready to offer you full pardon and—" The human raised one hand, then pointed to the sky. The council shuttle was instantly disabled. Not destroyed, just dead. No power, no signal. It simply shut off. The message was clear. Leave. The council ship was gone within the hour. The people of Nurex were terrified. "They're not just protecting us," Merrill said, pacing the mountain base. "They're cutting us off. From everyone." Vel didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the tower data. One tower, the largest, was nearly complete. It had begun transmitting something, a low constant signal that no one could understand. Until Vel realized it wasn't for Nurex. It was a warning to the galaxy. A signal that said, "Do not come here." Why would they do that? Merrill asked. Vel whispered, "Because something is coming. And they don't want anyone else to get caught in it." That night, another message came through. Not from space, from the humans. It appeared on every screen, every old radio, every device still working. The voice was calm, male with a Terran accent. "This planet is now under Terran protection. No outside vessels may enter. No contact will be allowed until containment is secured." There was a pause. Then the voice added, "We did not come to rule. We came to stand the last wall." The message ended. Vel felt a chill. Stand the last wall. What does that mean? No one knew. But the humans kept building. They were not preparing for war. They were preparing for something worse. Something that made even the Karn seem small. And the clock was ticking. 72 hours until lockdown. You said the countdown had begun. Only 48 hours remained until the humans activated their full lockdown. No one knew what it truly meant. No one dared ask. Even the bravest Nurexi soldiers stayed far from the human towers now. Strange lights flickered from the structures. Shadows moved where no one stood. The very air around them felt wrong. Vel barely slept. He stayed at the console in the mountain base, eyes locked on the data pouring in from the planet's sensors. Nothing made sense anymore. The energy readings from the towers kept rising, but slowly, as if something huge was charging up. Something buried deep under the planet. "It's like they're waking the planet itself," he muttered. Merrill stood beside him, her face pale. "Vel, what if we're inside the thing they're building?" Vel looked up. He hadn't thought of that. Outside, the black ships still floated above. They hadn't moved in hours. No radio waves, no signals, just silence. Until the sky changed. It began as a ripple. A thin wave of purple light passed through the clouds, slow and cold. Birds stopped flying. Small animals froze. Every device in the Nurexi cities blinked off for one full second, then came back online. Vel's screen turned black, then flickered on with new data. Something had entered the system. Not from the Karn, not from the Council. Something unknown. "New contact," Vel said, heart racing. "It's massive." A shape appeared just beyond Nurex's moon. A dark object, like a ship, but it wasn't moving like one. It was too large, too quiet. No engine signs, no known drive. It simply appeared. The humans responded instantly. Every black Terran warship turned to face the intruder. One after another, they lit up with blue and red shields, forming a wall between the object and the planet. Ground towers activated at the same moment, sending waves of energy into the atmosphere. A huge dome began forming, slowly, around Nurex. "They're sealing the planet," Merrill whispered. The council sent a warning from a nearby outpost. "We have detected a Class Red anomaly near your location. Recommend immediate evacuation." But the humans weren't evacuating. They were getting ready to fight. Veld switched to deep scan mode. He tried to analyze the object near the moon. It was almost too dark to see. But as he zoomed in, he saw something. It was watching. There were no windows, no lights. But somehow, Vel felt eyes looking back through the data. Not machine eyes. Living ones. He leaned back from the console. "It's alive." Merrill didn't say anything. She was staring at the sky outside the window. "Vel, look." In the distance, over the valley, one of the towers began to shake. Then it rose, higher than anyone expected. It extended far into the clouds, then split at the top like a flower. Blue light poured out in all directions. The humans weren't just building defenses. They were building a weapon. The object by the moon moved again. A small piece broke off, like a drop of ink falling through water. It floated toward Nurex, slowly. The Terran fleet opened fire. Not with missiles, not with beams, but with something new, golden pulses of energy that bent through space like curves of lightning. The drop was hit, but instead of exploding, it shattered into a mist of black smoke. Then, from the mist, came something else. A shape. Thin, long, almost invisible. It streaked toward the planet. The first ground tower reacted before anyone else. It fired a beam of white-hot energy straight into the sky. The shape dodged it, twisting unnaturally, then split into 5 more shapes. Merrill grabbed Vel's shoulder. "They're trying to get through." "They won't make it," Vel said, hoping he was right. One of the black shapes got past the first tower, but not the second. From the mountains, another Terran structure activated. A sphere of red light exploded upward, swallowing the shape in midair. It screamed. Everyone heard it, not with ears, but in their minds. A scream of hunger. Then silence. The shape was gone. Veld stared at his readings. Whatever that was, it wasn't Karn. It wasn't Council. That was something else. Merrill nodded slowly. And the humans knew it was coming. The skies trembled again. The object near the moon pulsed with dark light. Another drop fell. Then another. Then hundreds. "They're testing us," Vel said. "Testing the humans. Seeing how strong they are." The humans didn't fall back. They unleashed. Every Terran ship began to move now. Fast, smooth, with deadly grace. They formed squadrons, circled the planet, and opened a storm of energy. The towers on the ground lit up together, sending a blast of power into orbit that looked like a second sun rising. One by one, the black drops were erased, but the main object still waited, watching. The lockdown countdown showed 24 hours remaining. Vel looked at the display and whispered, This is not a war. This is a warning." The planet trembled beneath the rising sun, but nothing could match the storm building in the hearts of those who watched the sky. Vel and Merrill stood at the mountain base, their eyes glued to the screens. The countdown showed just 12 hours left before the full lockdown. The strange dark object still hung near the moon, silent and watching like a patient hunter. It did not move, but its presence was enough to fill everyone with dread. Suddenly, a new message appeared on all the Terran communication channels. It was not a warning, not a threat. It was a truth. A human voice, calm but firm, spoke clearly in many languages across the planet. "We did not come to conquer. We did not come to enslave. We came because the galaxy faces a darkness that no one else can stop." Vel exchanged a look with Merle. "What darkness?" The Terran voice continued. "Long before the Karn or the Council, there was a force. It is a shadow beyond stars. It destroys worlds and life. leaving only silence. We call it the Voidborn. Meryl's eyes widened. Voidborn. I've heard stories. Legends. Stories that many believed were just myths, the voice said. But the Voidborn are real. They have come to this system. That is why we intervened. Vel leaned forward. So the humans are fighting the Voidborn? Yes, the voice said. The towers you see are part of a containment network. They hold the Voidborn at bay. Without them, Nurex and nearby planets will fall. Meryl shook her head in disbelief. Why didn't they tell us before? Why the silence? Because fear can spread faster than truth, the voice answered. We needed time to prepare, to build defenses, to protect you. The message ended. Vel felt a chill run down his spine. All the strange machines, the silent soldiers, the lockdown, it was all a desperate defense against a darkness no one else understood. Outside, the skies pulsed with energy as the towers continued their steady glow. The Black Terran fleet formed an unbreakable wall around Nurex, ready for the coming battle. Then, without warning, the dark object near the moon began to move. Slowly at first, then faster. It stretched and changed shape, becoming something vast and terrifying, like a nightmare made real. The humans reacted instantly. Ships launched from orbit, rushing to meet the threat. Vel watched as the battle began, not with fire or missiles, but with waves of energy that bent space itself. The humans fought with precision and courage, holding the line against the Voidborn's terrible power. Meryl whispered, "This is only the beginning." Vel nodded. "But now we know the truth, and maybe, just maybe, we stand a chance." The fight for Nurex was no longer just about survival. It was about hope. The sky over Nurex was dark with smoke and fire. The great battle had begun. The Voidborn had broken through the final layer of defense. Shadows twisted across the land, swallowing everything in their path. Vel stood beside Meryl at the mountain base. Around them, alarms screamed, and the ground shook with explosions. The Terran towers blazed like stars, firing bright beams into the sky, fighting the darkness. "We can't hold them much longer," Meryl said, her voice tight with fear. Vel shook his head. "We have to. If we fall, the Voidborn will spread across the galaxy." Suddenly, the biggest tower, the one that looked like a flower, began to pulse with a fierce light. The humans gathered around its base, their faces set with determination. A Terran commander spoke to the crowd. "This tower is our last hope. It will send a signal to Earth for reinforcements. We need time." Meryl looked at Vel. "Then we fight to buy them time." The Voidborn creatures crashed against the shields. Their screams filled the air. The humans fired everything they had: energy bolts, missiles, and strange weapons that tore through the dark shadows. Vel watched as a black tendril reached toward the mountain base. He grabbed Meryl's arm. "We have to move. Now." They ran through the chaos, dodging falling debris and flashes of light. Around them, the Terran soldiers formed a line, holding back the shadows. Outside, the great tower's light grew brighter, sending a powerful beam into space. The signal had been sent. But the Voidborn were not finished. A giant shadow rose from the darkness. It was massive, with glowing eyes and a voice like thunder. "You cannot stop the Voidborn," it said. "Your worlds will fall." The Terran commander stepped forward, raising a weapon shining with blue light. "We are human. We do not give up." With a roar, the humans charged. The battle was fierce, but the humans fought with heart and skill. Vel and Meryl found shelter in a nearby cave. From there, they watched the battle rage. Hours passed. Then the sky began to change. A fleet of ships appeared, large, powerful, and filled with the finest Terran warriors. The reinforcements had arrived. The new ships unleashed a storm of energy, pushing the Voidborn back. The black shadows shrank and vanished under the onslaught. The great tower's beam pulsed once more, then stopped. The Voidborn were gone. Silence fell. The humans looked to the sky, tired but victorious. Vel turned to Meryl. They saved us. They did the unthinkable. Meryl smiled weakly. And now, maybe we can rebuild. The galaxy had seen darkness and fear, but humanity stood strong. No one had come to help until the humans did the unthinkable.